What's up, and welcome to another episode of Dev Talks with your host Travian. Last week, we had an exciting week. We talked a lot about the Cybertruck, everything that was about it, all the information that I was able to scrape up about it, and where I was able to get it from. This week, we have a lot of different stuff going on. There's some news about OpenAI, some Tesla news, more Tesla news. Don't worry, nothing about the Cybertruck. And then Apple and Google have some yearly top 2023 list that came out, and I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about them as well too. So just stick around and let's dive right into this episode and not play around, and let's figure out what's been going on in the world of tech. Okay. So what to get into first? That's really the question right now. Um Maybe let's just, since we talked about Tesla last week, let's start off with it real quick. So last week we talked about the Cybertruck and all this new stuff coming out, and I find something really interesting that I'm really about to get into in 1 second. But because last week the rear wheel drive for the Cybertrucks, they're not yet being productionalized, and they're the cheapest model. Keep this in your mind. And they so like, what do you really take from it? Like, it doesn't have the top speeds, it probably doesn't function as best, and things like that, of the accordance. But recently I just seen Tesla, they tweet all the time about different stuff. So recently they tweeted about having the tax EV tax credit for their car. And the one that we're specifically talking about is the Model 3. I believe I've driven it before, but the rear wheel drive version of it. So they were talking about how in the new year of 2024, they are going to be reducing it from $7,500 to about 3,750, and that's how much they're going to be reducing the tax credit to. And like, that's a large reduction. It's almost a 4 grand reduction that you're missing out on that you were getting before. And I know a lot of people, some people switch to buying electric cars to be able to get the EV tax credits and so much on above that. So, like, what do you have here? You're gonna cut most of the money out of a Model 3. They didn't really specify the year either to it. So this might be for all their rear wheel drive Model 3s that they were going to do this to, which sometimes makes you think, what is the reason that they're going to be doing this? Well, recently, even more recently, they put out a tweet saying how, and they captioned this tweet about the reduction, and they said that they're actually cutting the EV credit for entirely for this specific vehicle. So this can mean a few things. One, are they discontinuing it? What's going on? I haven't seen any news around the Model 3 rear wheel drive yet, but now might be something that we have to look into more. Or is this a cash grab? Because let me put it this way: the Cybertruck, the two best models were released first. What does that tell you? They want to, if you want this car as much and all the hype and things like that, you have to pay for the most expensive versions of the vehicle. I don't know Tesla's history to like really throw these accusations around if they've done this with all their models, but it's kind of convenient how the least model is the one that's getting thrown out last. I mean, it makes sense. You're a business, you need to make money, and you're going to hold out the car that doesn't make you as much money as long as possible. But this is also a newer version of a vehicle, and a new line in general. So the Model 3s, what will it cause for you to lose the rear wheel drive ones? They're going to be the least expensive version of the Model 3s out of all of them. So if you lose a tax credit and you buy these cars because, one, you want an efficient car, you want an electric car that's EV, and maybe like Tesla brand or whatever, and you believe in them the most, well, now you're losing your credit on your car. So what do? You go to Tesla and you trade it in for a step up or something like that, so you can receive the credits again for your car. Or it could just be in the country that they're reducing the how the credits work and the kind of value a car has to have for the credits to work. So there's a lot of different ways you can sit here and like point fingers and blame different like reasons on why Tesla could possibly be doing this. But at the end of the day, we really don't know because I don't work for them. I can't make these decisions. And I'm not in the boards to give up this information. So that's what that's mainly the main thing about the whole Tesla stuff going on right now. Still, Tesla, the Cybertruck, it was very hyped out last week. I haven't heard anything so far this week about the vehicles. I still haven't yet to see any on the road. So, I mean, it's still a rare commodity. Obviously, as time goes on, we'll start seeing more. I really curious to see how it would be driving next to one and the random one on the highway and stuff, but you never know what can be happening and stuff around that board and things. So with that wrapped up though, we do have some interesting news. So I don't know if any of you guys remember when Sam Altman was like fired from OpenAI and he was the CEO. And then he went to go start his own startup for AI chips and things. And then he ended up coming back to OpenAI and they agreed on the pay and everything to get him and another member of that used to be on the board and stuff back into the company so that their employees wouldn't quit and they would die off. It's funny how this one particular thing worked. So recently, OpenAI agreed to buy $51 million worth of AI chips. And guess where these AI chips are going to be coming from? The startup that is backed by Sam Altman. And so the CEO left, started this startup and everything, and he moved fast. Like now the startup's out here. And I didn't even know he created it already or was able to back it and things like that. But now he comes back and look, a week or two later, 2 weeks later, now the company is buying $51 million worth of the chips. Like, that is crazy. That is really wild to like see and like I feel like I said something on that regard of him making chips is something that they're still gonna have to buy off of and things. Somebody has to go back and quote me on that if I did say something in that kind of ballpark, but I really believe I did. And that is very curious as far as it goes. As I said, I'm just flying through some of these things, but what does this like cause? What does it start and things? I wonder like how legal this is, but he's also he is also going to be making even more money from this. Like he's a businessman. OpenAI had so much success this year alone. Um, and now the CEO had left and came back, and now they're buying $51 million worth of material from the place that he's backing. And that's like really baffling. That's they one way to really keep something in house. A company that we're gonna get to in just one bit. Apple, they do great job doing stuff in house. I wouldn't be surprised if OpenAI just buys out this startup and they start doing this AI chip thing in house. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened at all. He already they already have a foot in the door because the CEO is the same person who backs it. It's a huge possibility to do that, and then they can definitely cut on costs for them producing the AI chips for them, and then they can also produce AI chips for other companies, which is crazy to think of. And I'm guaranteeing you that is something that's going to happen. They're going to become the middleman for all the AI chips for most of the competitors and things. But Apple does do a lot of stuff in house. They create all their M3, M2, all their chips and stuff. They do that stuff within Apple. And how do you get to a company that does that? Have a company that constantly buys out other companies for different reasons, and what can be caused and gained from this. And this is one of those things that can happen from it. So it's almost amazing to really see and things a part of that whole Riga and stuff. So now we've talked about Tesla. We talked about the recent news of OpenAI. This episode is not going to be as long as some of the other ones we've done recently. Recently, we've had some quite long episodes where we just talked and talked and talked and talked. Not too many points about these stuff. There's some quick news that I've seen coming out in the world as far as what's going on to them. So I'm here to share them with you and some of the possibilities that can come from this stuff and give some people an extra insight of thinking of what can happen from it. So next is Google's 2023 top searches. Google released an article showing all their 2023 top searches and things. And guess what wasn't on there? Technology. So one thing that I talk about on this podcast a lot, not maybe not a lot, is gaming. So I do talk about how technology affects gaming and things like that. Like I love playing video games. I'm playing Call of Duty, the new FIFA game, 2K, all For Honor, all these games I'm playing right now. On my spare time when I actually have some time to sit down with some friends and enjoy it, and I should be trying to stream it as well soon, but we're gonna be getting into it. But so gaming was on their list, but technology wasn't. They didn't have I'm really curious to why that is because yeah, there's a lot of categories around the searching engines and stuff. Maybe it's harder for them or they just don't know how to search. How to say it? It's hard for them to search technological searches, or maybe people aren't searching certain things for technology as often, so the categories really weigh down and they're not kept up with a lot of the other stuff. So I mean, that's a potential way. Maybe that's something that needs to be fixed. Maybe that's something more people need to be interested in and they're just not. So it's definitely all a possibility that can be going on right now, but it's also worrisome because like I have a podcast that talks about technology and stuff and a bunch of different topics and engineering, and we can go on and on about it. And if we come on, did he say? How do I say, if we want to make something more popular and define it, we would have to I'm really curious on how what it's going to take for that to actually happen and encourage it to come on because I'm actually quite interested in how that whole thing is going to work. So, yeah, no technology, man. No engineering. Nothing too great with search this year on their article. The only thing that I can like kind of relate from there on a technological standpoint is gaming, and we all love games. So if you want to know what the top 5 games were this year, I suggest just go look at their article. It's pretty dope. Um, I know. Oh gosh, I'm blanking. I didn't write down the list because that's not really the list that I was looking for. I was hoping to really have something like where they showed a list that said like OpenAI or ChatGPT or Microsoft or Sam Altman or some like stuff in that kind of order. I was hoping to see more of that on a global scale, but it just really wasn't there, and I'm actually quite disappointed. So all this stuff's going on and whatnot. But what can I say? What can I say? But speaking of which, Apple also, and we're talking about games and applications, Apple released their top 2023 list for their top 10 apps in the App Store, and they organized it a certain way as well too. So, and I want to notice, I want you guys to, I'm going to read out the top 10 list free iPhone apps and free iPad apps. And I'm gonna just see if pause for a minute after to see if you guys can think about what may be the difference between these two applications and things like that, and why this may be the case on some of these differences. But so as you go, number one is Timu, Shop Like a Billionaire, and it's CapCut. A lot of people have been doing videos and TikToks and stuff like that. So that's what CapCut is for, to make shorts and other video editing and stuff. Three is Max, so it's basically HBO and TV and movies. Then it's Threads, which was an Instagram app for, let's like, the Twitter version of Instagram. That got a lot of hype. And it's TikTok, Instagram, Google, YouTube, WhatsApp Messenger, and Gmail. So that's the top 10 for free iPhone apps. Now, if we go to free iPad apps, number one is Max, number two is YouTube, number three is Netflix, then it's Google Chrome, Disney Plus, GoodNote 6, TikTok, Amazon Prime, Temu Shop Like a Billionaire, and Peacock. And I find it really interesting, for instance, like, I'm not even gonna get into the gaming portion of it, but I find it very interesting on how the iPhone and the iPads are used purposely very differently. Yes, you still have um platforms to people who are watching stuff on their iPhones and stuff. Yeah, there's still apps on there. I think um YouTube and Max are the two that made it on the iPhone list. But when you go to the iPad, all those streaming platforms that you have on there, a lot more people are watching stuff on the iPads because it's a little bigger screen. I can assume it's more comfortable, and maybe you giving the iPads to your kids more, so you're not having a bunch of social media apps on there and things. So you can, seeing lists like this can really show you on how your products are being used differently and for what ways they're being used differently. And that's one of the amazing things about tech. I mean, I know a lot of these apps ask to track your data and things like that. And being able to track like how your product is being used is always great to for how are you going to upgrade this in the future. And we talked about a lot of Apple events recently, and they go into specs for different reasons and why this is. So having this list here is definitely going to help on the episodes next year on how the list is going to be changing and whatnot from there. So I mean, it's a lot to go through and whatnot, but it's I'm excited for their next reveal, because now when they have their next Apple reveal for a showcase of their products, if it comes to an iPhone or an iPad, and trust me, they're gonna have one next year. Like, they have one every year, darn near. So I'm going to pay more focus of how are people using these devices and what are they doing to help people who use these devices in these ways. And that's just where it's going to come from. So, but that's pretty much it. That's the list of everything that I have for those lists. I'm going to drop them in the description if you guys want to read the lists and look more into them for this year. For those news and stuff, as you said, for the Tesla thing, you can look it up on Twitter. And then the Sam Altman thing for the chips things, you can always look it up. Don't want to take credit for nobody else's news of things coming out, but it is crazy when you can take a bunch of different facts and stuff going on and really piece together the possibilities that can happen. And that's something that I really want to try to do and continue more. So hopefully you guys loved this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know in your comments how you feel about it, but also don't forget to like, comment, and share. And please don't forget to subscribe, because we have a lot going on and there's always going to be a lot coming out of this. So take care. Hope you guys are all great and see you next week.